Today we're exploring a stitch with an asymmetrical, undulating yet reversible vertical rib that reminds me of new tulips. It's based on a diamond lattice, with each decrease for the tulip on one side of the fabric paired with an increase of the tulip on the other side, so each row does double duty. First, we'll look at the special decreases and increases we'll use, and then we'll knit the full 6-row repeat, including cast on and the selvage. As we go, we'll explore how the stitch pattern achieves the look of the stitch. At the end, I'll show you the details of this buttonhole scarf I made, including the buttonholes. Awesome Reversible Knitting aims to create projects with knitted fabric that looks great on both sides, lies wonderfully flat, and has an interesting structure and texture. So let's knit. The key to reversible knitting is reversible stitches. The most basic is the reverse of a knit stitch, which is a purl-looking stitch on the other side. In the same way, a right-leaning knit 2 together decrease made on this side of the fabric looks like a purl 2 together on the other side, which is also right-leaning. For the increase, I wanted the bottom of the tulip to come from a central stitch. So the knitwise increase I chose is a knit 1 below, combined with a knit 1 in the existing stitch, then letting it drop off the needle. One more time, knit 1 below, and knit the existing stitch as well. The purl combo is very similar. Rather than knitting into the stitch below from the front, I've purled into the stitch below from the back, and then purled the existing stitch. One more time, purl 1 below, and purl the existing stitch as well. Let's put all 3 stitch types together to create the tulip stitch. It's a 4-stitch, 6-row repeat. For the swatch, I've used a knit purl long tail cast on to match the first row. The purl version is the reverse of the more common knit version of the long tail cast on. 1 knit and 3 purls. I'm casting on 3 repeats with the first yarn on and 1 additional last knit stitch forming the selvage, so 14 stitches in total. The selvage I'm using is a slip 1 purlwise with yarn in front, with a yarn over for the beginning, and knitting the last stitch and the yarn over together for the ending selvage. Because of the vertical rib, I find this stitch pattern needs a more substantial selvage. I've marked the odd row side. After we work the selvage, the first row is knit 3, purl 1. Since this is the very first row, there's no yarn over yet, so we'll just knit the last stitch. As you can see, the reverse of the last purl is a knit-looking stitch on the other side, followed by 3 purl stitches that we knit on the other side. After we work the selvage, to increase the single knit stitch, we'll knit into the stitch below, and then knit the existing stitch. For the corresponding decrease, we'll purl the first of the 3 purl stitches, and then purl the next 2 together. Let's do that again. Increase the single knit stitch into 2, then purl 1, purl 2 together to decrease. This row starts the transition to create the undulations of the vertical rib. At the end of the row, we'll knit the last stitch and the yarn over of the selvage together. For the third row, after the selvage, we see 2 remaining knit-looking stitches and 2 joined purl stitches. We'll knit the first 2 stitches together to finish the top of the tulip and increase the next stitch, this time with the purl 1 below and purl 1 combo, and purl the 4th stitch. One more time, knit 2 together, purl 1 below, and purl the next 2. This creates the top of the knit side tulip and opens up the bottom of the purl side tulip, and knit 2 together for the selvage. If you've been on this channel before, you may know what's coming next. Row 4 is the same as row 1, but on the other side of the fabric. Knit 3, purl 1. This forms the middle of the knit-looking tulip and creates the stem for the purl-looking tulip. Row 5 is the same as row 2. For the increase and decrease rows, you can remember the order by making sure to increase on the right of the center base stitch and decreasing from the left side. So increase first and decrease last for each repeat. For row 6, it's a similar idea. Decrease from the left to the right and increase on the right of the center base stitch. When we look at the project next, I'll give you some tips to refine the look of the stitch. The combination of the straight rows and the reverse increases and decreases in successive rows creates the asymmetrical tulip. And with a few repeats, it looks like this. Isn't it lovely? Let me know if you can see the new tulips. For this button scarf, I used 2 balls of undyed wool by Loops and Threads. Because of the wrinkle of the wool fibers combined with the increases and decreases, this stitch feels quite dense. It's important not to knit this stitch too loosely, so I used a 5mm needle with this yarn. Let me know if you experiment with different yarns and needles. I cast on 11 repeats with the same knit purl version of the long tail cast on I used with the swatch. A few times I forgot the yarn over for the selvage at the beginning of the row, but rather than tink back 2 whole rows, I just pulled the yarn between the slip stitch and the next stitch, and then knit them together. For the increase stitches, it's important that the bottom of the tulip isn't too messy or open. That said, that's exactly what I did for the buttonhole. Rather than using a more standard cast-off based buttonhole, I decided to expand the existing natural hole in the fabric to fit the button. The stitch is on row 3, so when I got to the spot where I wanted the buttonhole to be, on the knit 2 together, I pulled up enough yarn so the button fit snugly through the loop. Then I took it off the needle and pulled it back through the stitch with a crochet hook so it doesn't change shape. After that, I treated the oversized stitch the same for all the other rows. I made 2 buttonholes this way, and I added 2 more buttons as decoration. Let me know what project you're creating with the tulip stitch. For the next video, I'm continuing the diamond lattice theme. A diamond lattice is also the basis for the triple raspberry stitch from a few videos ago. It has a similar structure with a very different outcome. Again, each row does double duty. I'm thinking of calling the next stitch the diamond lattice stitch, or maybe the diamond stitch. Let me know what you think in the comments. So pick up your knitting and create something awesome. I'll do my best to respond to comments, and I'd love to hear about your favorite reversible knitting pattern. Also feel free to like and share this video and subscribe to the channel for more awesome reversible knitting. For those of you still here, the last few years I've been working hard to find simple ways to feel better, what I'd call my daily well-being practices. This is not medical advice, I'm just sharing what works for me. Today's well-being practice is about our future. Like a new tulip, there's lots of future, and being kind to our future selves is important. We don't want to burden our future selves with something we can get done now. As I tell my children, waiting to do it later doesn't actually ever happen. Later doesn't really exist without a plan. Doing something now means we don't have to do it later. Instead, we can be kind to our future selves and look forward to knitting. This year, I've been giving talks about the math of awesome reversible knitting. On Friday, November 29th, I will give my 3rd talk. It will be streamed on the Relatorium YouTube channel. I linked it below, and you can find the recording there afterward. If you're interested in more mathematical knitting content on my channel, let me know in the comments. Have an awesome day.